welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Jayden Clark, founder at Founders Clubhouse, and his mission is to help business owners, founders, and entrepreneurs be the best and happiest versions of themselves. Welcome to the show, Jayden.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about entrepreneurship and mental health. We'll talk about all this in this background. Before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are learning from.
Of course. Yeah, no problem at all. So a brief intro to my background. I worked a corporate 9 to 5 for just under 10 years. So after university, I went and joined a large media and entertainment company. Some people may have heard of it. It's called Sky. It's very big in the UK. It's part of Comcast Group as well. So North America will be aware of that too. I worked there for, like I say, best part of a decade. It was a fantastic brand, excellent company to work for. But I was very keen to take more control over my time and finances. And so I started building an e-commerce business. I built it alongside my job for quite some time. So that was a lot of hard work, a lot of early mornings, late evenings, weekend work, all that sort of thing. I was probably working 50 hours a week in my primary employment. And then I was trying to do probably at least another 30 hours a week around that, I think, on my business. So that was a tough year. But fortunately, we saw quite quick growth in that. And the business was doing around sort of 7 figures in revenue within about a year, and that gave me enough. And our net profitability was around the sort of 15% mark, and so that gave me enough sort of cash reserves and profit reserves in the business to be able to leave my full-time role and focus solely on the business, which was a big moment for me. It also naturally improved our growth because I was singularly focused and able to go all in, so to speak, on that venture. And then spent another year growing that business until very recently, only about 8 weeks or so ago, when I exited that business, sold it to a small private fund. And that has been a whirlwind couple of years for me into entrepreneurship, into building and selling a business. But it's been fantastic in so many ways. But as I think we might get into later in the show, it's also come with a lot of amplified stresses and burnout and mental struggles as well. So very high highs and some tough lows as well, but an amazing journey.
An amazing journey with a lot of some highs and some lows. But I want to understand from you, Jayden. A lot of people are into business. A lot of entrepreneurs are there. It is the startup world for the startups, startup entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. What is it that in your case was different that led you to be concerned about your mental health? And that is where you started looking at it. How I want to understand your thing, what you are doing wrong, what you are doing right. Nothing wrong in working hard. What is it that was putting on extra stress? Something that a lot of people can learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly for me, it was less about the number of hours worked, and it was more about my mental state going into the business that caused some of the mental health challenges, some of the burnout, the stress, etc. I didn't really give much care and attention at all to my mental health. In my previous job, I found the separation between work and life quite easy when I worked for a large company, and therefore I didn't really find that I had many mental health struggles with regard to business and work. That completely changed when I became a business owner, a founder, an entrepreneur. What I found is it massively amplified struggles that existed in my life anyway, but that until I had the weight on my shoulders of owning a business, that entire business performance being on my shoulders, therefore looking after and providing for my family, etc., on my shoulders, that I found incredibly stressful. And one area that I really struggled with was the previous business that I built and sold was in e-commerce, it was in online retail. So it was a heavy customer service focused business because of course we're, selling. So it was selling to customers, and so therefore every transaction has a human touch point behind it. And of course, when that exists, there can be things that go wrong. Sometimes they're within your control, sometimes they're outside of your control. It can be really basic things like deliveries not happening on time, stock issues, delays, and a whole host of things, right? But what I found is that I really struggled when customers were disappointed, upset, hadn't had their expectations met, and often that would be outside of my control. There are a lot of partners that you rely on in business. You rely on your courier, on your logistics partners, often on the manufacturer, because we weren't manufacturing our own products. We were selling products from other manufacturers. And so there's a whole chain of people that are involved in ensuring your customer has a good experience. And, we all make mistakes. And therefore, there are times where the customer was displeased, unhappy, and therefore had a negative perception of the experience they'd got from my business. And because it was my small business, and because I'd started it, and sometimes it feels a little bit like your baby, so to speak, that felt very tied to my identity. And so I took that very hard, and I struggled to recover sometimes. If that happened, if I, started my working day with a customer issue that I really needed to solve, sometimes I struggled to get my mindset back on track after that, even after I dealt with the issue. And then, when you stack these on top of each other across the course of 2 years, your sort of mental burnout and exhaustion and stress levels just start to build and build and build. And because I was always in kind of go mode, because I was trying to build and grow this business, I never sort of took the time to bring those levels back down. And so progressively, they just rose and rose and rose. And so my capacity to deal with them got weaker and weaker. And I sort of ran myself a little bit down a hole of quite a difficult mental state. And if I'm being completely honest, I think part of the reason that I exited the business quite so quickly was, of course, it was fantastic to have that exit and sell the business. But also, I think I felt mentally like I needed a bit of a clean break and a reset, whereas there probably would have been an opportunity to keep the business for, for example, another couple of years and continue to grow at the same rate and take an even bigger sale and exit. So it's definitely something that I will be doing differently going forward.
Absolutely. Were there anything in particular that surprised you with regards to your, mental wellness, and when you were doing anything, or you thought that okay, these are part of it, but it is impacting you, and just move out? Or were there any surprises about
Yeah.
you from all that was happening at that point in time?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that surprised me is the brain's inability to be rational when the emotions are high. So typically, when someone is running their own business, they're very invested in it, they're very protective of it, and therefore there's a lot of emotion involved, right? Often in a way, and that's where the change came from me. When I was working for my company, I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to, perform well, but the emotion wasn't there, right? I could separate, I do my best work. And if that doesn't always, if that means that sometimes there are mistakes or issues, that is what it is. In your business, there's a whole new level of emotion when you own that business and you're the operator. And so, unfortunately, the brain, when you're that emotional about something, it bypasses some of the critical thinking, some of the logic, some of the rationale. And so there might be an issue with a customer that actually someone from the outside could look at and go, it's not a big deal. It's not a big issue. You've solved it. It's the sort of thing that naturally happens as part of running a business. You've done what you need to do to amend it. This doesn't mean that you're a poor business owner or doing things suboptimally. It doesn't mean you're a failure or you should be ashamed. But the problem is when you're so close to it and you're in that, the brain can't hear or do those rational sort of like critical thinking things that it would normally do. And therefore, the body goes into a sort of like fight and flight, adrenaline, anxiety response. And that was something I was having very frequently. And the problem is the brain, when it can't do this rationale logic bit, it doesn't really understand the difference between extreme danger, the adrenal response that would be there for, oh wow, that I've come around the corner and there is a tiger, I need to run or fight or freeze. And it has the same bodily chemical response to that as a customer's upset because their delivery is late. Now, the two are completely different, and obviously any rational thinking allows you to realize that. But unfortunately, when in the absence of that rational thinking, because of all that emotion, you end up having the same bodily response. And as you can imagine, trying to do your working day when you're pumped full of adrenaline, anxiety is high, heart rate is high, and that's happening frequently. That takes a big toll on your body and your mental state. So that was the biggest thing that I wasn't prepared for at all.
Right, right, Jaden. Now, do you think uh, that a lot of business owners, first of all, they are all human beings,
Hmm.
and we are all very different. Our level of tolerance about anything, our level of resilience, everyone comes from a different background, different environment, but we
Absolutely.
pursue an entrepreneurship goal. Should individuals, anyone who is getting into entrepreneurship, startups, should evaluate themselves, about the path they want to take, about the hours they want to give, about the things that they want to do, rather than just following others? Because a lot of people say you cannot achieve anything because of without hard work. Absolutely correct, hard work. But that hard work means different to different people. How would you like to tell individual entrepreneurs, or nowadays you are now helping a lot of founders in your founders clubhouse? What is it that you are telling them? Is this aspect an important aspect to take care of?
Yeah, so I think I fell into this trap. I agree. When I started my business, I thought what's going to matter here is going to be how hard do I work and how much do I learn, i.e., how well am I going to be able to learn from other individuals? Maybe it's courses, maybe it's podcasts, maybe it's something like this, whatever it is. But I was always thinking tactical. So, I wanted to learn strategies around paid advertising or SEO and organic traffic or conversion rate optimization, all these very quantifiable things that I wanted. I was like, I need to learn them as best I can, and I need to work hard to employ them in the business. And if I do those two things, nothing else will matter. That will make it a success. And to an extent, that is true. But the real intangible side of things is that if you're a small business owner, a founder, an entrepreneur, and therefore it is mainly you running the business, or maybe you and one other, the quality of the business is going to be directly linked to the quality of decisions that you make on a daily basis. And as a business owner, you will make so many decisions on a daily basis, some of them small, and it will just be, a small bit around whether you choose to go after that new supplier, or whether you choose to set up that new marketing channel, or change the creative on this, or whatever else it might be. And some of them will be much bigger. Some of them will be, what are we going to focus on for the next 3 months? What direction are we going to take this business in? And the better quality decisions you're making on a daily basis, over time, those are going to stack up and have a huge impact on the quality of your business. It's not just your ability to work hard to implement them, or your ability to have the tactical knowledge to execute them. It's also, where are you spending your time, and where are you spending your focus, and also what ethos are you bringing to that. And unfortunately, in fact, every single individual has their own set of pre-beliefs, right? It happens throughout our life. We're generally not consciously aware of it, but particularly when we're a child, for about the first 8 to 10 years of our life, we are complete sponges, right? So we are learning from parents, everyone around us, and we are just absorbing information. Now, in that time, we might absorb financial anxiety. We might feel that we have to keep our finances very close to our chest and be very, very risk averse, for example. Or we might absorb the idea that we can be very abundant and we can be very risky with our finances. Either way, that's not necessarily a problem as long as the individual is aware of it. But if the individual isn't aware of their preconditioning, that not only happens as a child, but happens throughout their life based on the influences, then they can sometimes lack the self-awareness to make good quality decisions, especially in high emotion moments. So, for example, one founder might look at an opportunity to invest some money in their business in a certain area in order to achieve growth. Now, when you're a business owner and you're working hard, you're working fast, and also it's your baby, and therefore emotion is high, you think you're making good logical decisions with critical rationale, but actually what is happening is, without you realizing, that subconscious belief system is driving that a bit. So you might say, I'm not going to pursue that, because actually, without realizing, my pre-wiring of sort of like risk aversion, financial anxiety is preventing me from doing that. And that actually might be a fantastic opportunity that another entrepreneur would say, of course we would do this. The opportunity for return is fantastic. And so you might have missed out on an opportunity to grow your business there because of your pre-wiring and pre-beliefs. Equally, in the other direction, someone who is far more has a higher propensity for risk and sees abundance might indeed end up spreading themselves too thin and not focusing on the things that are really working and casting the net too wide, and therefore they don't grow as quickly or as effectively because there's a lot of wastage. All of that is fine. We all have these preset belief systems. Some of them are fantastic for our business and they are like our superpowers, and some of them are limiting for our business. And we can't get rid of these limiting systems. Everyone has them to some degree, but we can become more self-aware of them so that when we're making decisions, we can be better at using logic, critical thinking, rationale. And when maybe there's a bit of fear driving, or there's a bit of preset beliefs that are driving maybe towards a decision that we wouldn't make in our best, most balanced, conscious, rational state, we need to be able to recognize that and call it out, so that we're making the best quality decisions and being the best quality versions of ourselves as founders. Because ultimately, if you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, solo founder, you and the quality of your decisions are the biggest factor that will mean the success of your business over the long term. But you won't always be able to see it because you make so many decisions on a daily basis, but they stack up over a long time. And so if you're bringing a poor, limited version of yourself, unfortunately, that's going to bleed into your business.
Right, right. And that is where your Founders Clubhouse comes in, if I am right. Tell us a bit about Founders Clubhouse and how are you helping uh, founders, entrepreneurs, startup guys do best with happiness, with
Yes.
better mental health, mental well being in whatever they are doing.
Yeah, so the plan is with Founders Clubhouse to create a virtual private members club for business owners and entrepreneurs. So it is going to be a members club that can be accessed globally. And the only criteria is that you need to be a business owner, founder, and therefore someone who understands some of the stresses, the difficulties, the strains of business ownership. Now, the first thing is we're just building a community of like minded individuals who can share their wins, share their struggles, be open and honest and vulnerable with each other. Because first things first, business ownership is very lonely and isolation is very difficult. And so we want to bring people together so that they can support and help each other. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we do want to meet these business owners where they're at. And I think all of us appreciate that there is a need for tactical and strategic knowledge, learning, development in their business. So I've been very fortunate across my kind of couple of year journey to building my business and selling it. I have been able to work with some fantastic experts across a vast majority of disciplines within e-commerce and business ownership. So we're going to be creating sort of like small micro courses and masterclasses so that our members can constantly keep growing and self-developing as a business owner and acquiring new skills to leverage in their business. And then finally, we're going to be tackling the bit that we've just spoken about, which is helping our members bring the best version of themselves every day when they run their business, and the happiest version of themselves. And that is going to be holistic across a number of factors. And this is where we're going to be going on a product development journey. So we are currently working with some experts on how to help our founders have the best quality of sleep, so that then when they're bringing themselves to their day of work, they're in the best mindset. We're also helping them with stress management, burnout, cortisol management. We're going to be helping them from a mindset perspective to get into the understanding of some of their limiting beliefs that might be holding them back in terms of their business decision making, and a whole host more. And we're going to keep evolving that based on really deeply understanding our members. So we want this to constantly be a two-way conversation so that we're understanding what they're struggling with, and then we're bringing the value to the table of how we can help them with that. And so there are coaching calls, get-togethers, masterminds, etc., that all happen within the Founders Clubhouse, so that people can share what they're struggling with, they can get help, assistance, and in turn, we not only give value to our members, but we understand them better and how we can help them more in the future. So yeah, that is the Founders Clubhouse in a nutshell.
Absolutely. So, what's the best way for them to be a part of Founders Clubhouse? Also, connect with you and get to know you directly.
Yeah, so the best place to find us is at Founders Clubhouse, Founders Clubhouse, clubhouse.co.uk. So yeah, primarily UK business, so .co.uk is important. If they come there, the first thing all we'll ask them is to give us their best email address, and that allows us to start giving them value. And we will, when they become a member, initially with their email, they'll get access to a number of the micro courses and masterclasses I talked about. They'll get some of the podcasting content that we put out. A lot of that is me speaking as I have like this on this show, but also day to day, more vulnerably. We build in public as well. So everything we're doing, we're transparent about and we share with them. So that's the best start to sort of like get a bit deeper into it. And then also they can join the community from there, which is a Slack community of like-minded business owners. And then they can start interacting and relating to others and begin that journey towards their best and happiest selves.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.